Yo guys, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Before we get started, I will be doing a Lightfall plus annual pass giveaway on September 10th. If you want to learn on how to get a chance at winning this Lightfall copy, please go to the description down below and click the link. It will tell you all the stuff that you gotta do, and we're probably going to end submissions for this on this coming Wednesday, but we're going to keep it up until then, so anyone who wants to join up and get a chance at winning this, then yeah, let's just do it. And again, we'll be streaming this on September 10th, so please be sure to subscribe and turn on that bell if you haven't already. But other than that, let's get into the main focus for today's video. Like yesterday, we did the power leveling changes announcement. In this video, I want to talk all about strikes. We get a little announcement on the big changes to strikes that will be happening around the Lightfall release. We'll also be going in some of my speculation thoughts on what I believe these changes could be, and what could maybe be a even return to the old Destiny strikes that were previously removed with the Curse of Osiris, Warmind, the original Red War, and Forsaken DLCs. Of course, there's no more expansion sunsetting. It's just, what about the previous expansions? Will they ever return? And could we get a little bit of a nitbit of any of the old strikes returning with this change that will be happening around Lightfall? So let's get right into the nitty-gritty. So Joe Blackford did an interview with Game Informer a couple days ago, and this is one of the things that came along with, of course, the power leveling focus that we did in that previous video yesterday. So in this, we're just going to talk about the little portion about strikes. Towards the end of our talk, I turned to one of the topics that bothers my clanmates the most: the lack of updates to the Vanguard Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit playlist. For a long time, these were the core to the Destiny 2 experiment, with players grinding out rewards and XP over endless matches and missions. These days, with some of the content in terms of the maps, missions, lost to sunsetting, and other stuff 5 years old and showing it, over familiarity can make these playlists very frustrating to feel forced to engage with. He says, "We have a team that's looking at a bunch of these problems, and I'm really even happy with the work that we have seen this year with us doing things like adding battlegrounds to those playlists. We're going to be doing a bunch of work, specifically in the Vanguard playlist around Lightfall. We're going back to some strikes to update them. We also don't think every strike needs to be replaced, but says the team wants to go into older ones and give them some kind of attention that the new content gets." Now, already off the bat, we are going to get some changes to strikes, and we get a couple strikes. We don't get a lot, but we get a couple. We, of course, got 2 strikes with Witch Queen. We got 3 strikes with the Season of the Chosen, which was back in Year 4. And we have yet to see any strikes that will be coming in the rest of Year 5. But even then, having changes to the previous strikes will be amazing for the Destiny environment. As a player, one of your big core activities that you grind a lot, probably on a daily, weekly basis, is Gambit, Crucible, and strikes. And so it's very important to, of course, add more attention to those core activities. Throughout this year, we see a lot of changes happening to the Crucible. Now, I know some players don't like all the changes and believe there's some bit issues there, and I'm not really going to create a whole Crucible type discussion here in this video, but I can see why a lot of people might not like some of them, but at least Crucible is getting a lot of changes. Some years we don't really get tons of changes to it, so it's just left even stale. So to see game modes, Crucible maps, and everything happening each season is at least nice to watch, as we're getting some more attention to the Crucible playlist. Now, reading up on it, we are going to get changes to the Strike playlist. Now, I would love changes to the Gambit playlist, but time will wait on that, of course. We know it takes even a longer time for a Gambit map to be created, or be, of course, implemented, as it's bigger than a Crucible map. So Gambit changes will have to wait. Of course, I would love to see some more Gambit changes, but at this point, there's always going to be some kind of problem with that situation and that activity. But let's focus on strikes. We have a lot of strikes. Now, I just want to read out some of these strikes that we have. Now, we have the Arm Stealer from the base game. We have the Exodus Crash, the Inverted Spire from also the base game. Lake of Shadows, which is nice. We also have the Insight Terminus. And we have Warden of Nothing. Now, and the Corrupted Strike. Now, already, those are the strikes from Year 1 and Year 2. And then after that, we also get the Scarlet Keep, and then it goes into the Beyond Light and strikes that were added with Chosen and, of course, Witch Queen. So, already looking back at the old strikes that we go from Year 1 to Year 2, there's not a lot. as we lost Savathun Song, if we lost the Promethean, as we lost the Garden World. We lost a lot of strikes. So more flavor needs to be added to these original strikes. Now, what type of attention does Bungie mean to these old strikes? What could we see? We could see the enemy change. We could see the encounters of the strike be changed a bit. We could see being added new mechanics to the original strikes, new bosses instead, and of course, strike-specific loot. Now, that's a major thing people want with these classic strikes getting changed. That's one of the big things. Hearing this, strike-specific loot from Destiny 1 was so awesome. Like, playing the Shield Brothers and getting awesome strike-specific loot was amazing. A strike playlist that will give you actually strike-specific loot and that will actually give you a bit of a challenge to do. We used to have heroic strikes and then Nightfalls, but of course heroic strikes were removed, and then we got Grandmasters as well. So to have strike-specific loot come back to the older strikes would be amazing. That would actually give you a key reason to go and do that previous strike. Everyone knows Lake of Shadows because they got Militia's Birthright, which was the grenade launcher from that strike. It was an amazing grenade launcher. People love doing it, and to have that in the game, again, to have a strike-specific, type loot with that strike, people would love doing that because, again, it's the fastest strike in the game. So people would love grinding that. No one wants to go and grind Insight Terminus. Nobody, because again, there's no loot incentive, and it's boring because it's a stale strike. It was a PlayStation exclusive when it came out at launch time, but again, there's not armor tied to it, and there's not weapons really tied to it at all. There needs to be more weapons in the strike pool. More specifically, there needs to be weapons and armor tied to each of the old previous strikes. How sick would it be if Lake of Shadows gave you taken armor for its strike, and you could do it as much as you want, but it would only give you like a 30% chance to get that taken armor that the Phalanx Echo boss has? So how sick would that be if you get some type of taken armor from that strike? You wouldn't expect it, but that would make the strike even best to, everyone would want to go and do it, basically. No one would not want to do it because people want loot. People will grind this game for loot. So adding strike-specific loot to the game would be one of the biggest things I could see as giving attention to the previous strikes. Moreover, changing the encounters. You go and do Lake of Shadows, it's go and destroy Blights. You go and do Inside Terminus, it's go and destroy that, step on that plate, go and destroy this other ad, clear the other room, put the thing in the other thing, and that's it. We really should get some more harder type encounters, type incentives in these strikes. I would love if there was a way how you could get some type of raid encounter. Not too complicated, maybe even much easier, but into a strike. Make the new lights, make the players who don't try raids, who don't try this stuff, into the strike playlist so they feel more comfortable. Of course, you can't put a raid encounter, you can't put something way too hard into a strike playlist, but put something that's really awesome. No one wants to go and stand on plates. Every strike is standing on plates. There's not like, oh, I want to go and do this same strike and expect a whole new type of encounter, but why is every strike stand on a plate, stand on a plate, stand on a plate? Let's get some new stuff. Let's get some of the Deepstone Crypt stuff. Let's get some of the King's Fall type encounters where instead of that, you have to dunk that and that, and you get a huge new, of course, you become like Taken or something, and you have to deposit that and that. Of course, I'm being a bit repetitive because I'm saying some of the previous things that all the other strikes did, but still, we need to add some new things. We really do to strikes. And again, encounters would be one of the big things I feel like Bungie should do. Bungie should not keep going with the same strike, just doing this, depositing that, that's it. We really need some new changes to the encounters inside the strike. Maybe even new bosses. We really want to change up these bosses. We're facing frickin' Scions and Phalanxes almost every strike. Let's change it up. Let's start getting some of the new bosses. Let's get rogue type bosses in strikes. Let's go crazy on this, bro. It's a video game. If we're doing strikes 24/7, let's add strikes 24/7. Let's add new bosses. Let's make it sick. Let's make a weekly bosses added into strikes. So every strike, every week, you get a different boss. Let's go crazy on this, Bungie. We really need a lot of changes to strikes, and already hearing this, we are finally going to get some more attention to the Year 1, Year 2, and probably even Year 3 strikes that we don't really play anymore. So hopefully this attention that we're getting is the loot, the encounters inside the strike, and also the experience that the Guardian will play through it again to find that they actually like the strike a lot more. I want to play Scarlet Keep a lot, but I don't like the strike. If there's ways how you give us sick weapons that are powerful, if the grind is not too hard, and if the experience is actually pretty awesome to do, if it's actually a really good strike after a change, then that would be really great to hear. Or they could just add all the original Destiny 1 strikes back. Who knows? Those are my thoughts. Hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.